This is a test. This is
It
a
worked.
test. This is a test of the did Will screw us all over broadcasting.
Shaking our fist at fate. Yes.
My gosh, I've never felt a jinx as hard as this in my life. Well, right before we go on, Will goes, "It's great, Kevin. You haven't frozen a while." I mean, come on, man. What are you doing? What are you doing? That's like going, "Hey guys, you realize he's throwing a no-hitter? Don't bring it up." All right. Well, I'll forgive you because you're here with me. How was your week, buddy?
Long but short. So there you go. How about yours?
Weird. Kid had a bunch of days on and off. It was weird. We were supposed to have a beach day today, and the tropical storm coming off the Gulf over our way. We had 97% chance of rain today. So we did not go to beach day, and it was canceled when we woke up. So we just I hung around. I worked on the Kickstarter and, did basically, we watched Obi-Wan Kenobi, third it, and then we watched Hot Shots because we didn't get to see Maverick. So I had a great day.
Nice.
But I don't think we're here to talk about my great day or your short and long week. I think we are here to talk about Frankie, Chastity, and Chris's Kickstarters. What we usually do now is like a little 30-second elevator pitch. So, Chris or Chastity, whoever would be the go-getter at a comic convention, how would you get somebody interested in the book in like 30 seconds as they tried to walk by?
Well, if you like revenge, a little gore, and some fried chicken, check out Rappy's Badass Song.
Can anybody say no to that?
I don't think so.
Maybe a vegetarian, but other than that, that is the only person. All right. Frankie, how about this new book, The Amber Door? How would you get somebody interested in that?
I would say, so The Amber Door is like a mini anthology focusing like on mood and tone specifically. So it's all these short little glimpses into like a fantasy universe, and it's all different characters for each skit. It's all different artists and letterers and colorists on each skit. I'm writing them all. But if you like to dive headfirst into a fantasy world and just get to walk right into it, then this is what, I would say that's what it's about.
Beautiful. I am actually running a Kickstarter. We did our deep dive on it last week, but I'm going to do the little 30-second pitch. If you like time travel, if you like super natural stories, time traveling demon hunters are in the world's most haunted waterway. What in the hell could go wrong? So, but we did my deep dive, so we're not going to do that this week because this is for you guys. We started with Chastity and Chris, so we're going to take a veer to Frankie. We're going to get right into it this week. Check the comments. And Joey says, what is up,
hey, Joey?
We are doing great. I hope you are doing well. He went to a comic convention last weekend, so I'm sure Joey's got some stories to tell from his voyage. So he's got to tell us the best elevator pitch he heard at the convention. And he says that he was sold with revenge and won with fried chicken. Agreed. So Frankie, I'm going to pull up The Amber Door, and let's talk about this, especially the art teams that you've come together. So as I pull this up, where did the idea for this anthology come to you?
So it's basically a bunch of shorts that I have written over the past year or so, and so I figured they all kind of felt like they were tied together into the same place, and then I could put it together as this way to do this mini anthology. But what really started it, and I will openly admit it, I got addicted to playing Elden Ring. So fantasy was on my brain 24/7, and I was like, you know what, I got all these shorts, let's actually do something with it, and something in the vein of how they're telling their story, which is you just wander around and get little bits here and there.
And how did you come up with the art teams?
So it was all just, it's based on who I thought would be the best fit for the project. One of them is a follow-up to Broken Bear called The Rotted Promise. So that was obviously going to be with Adam Markiewicz and HG. I wanted to work with Ice Ghost for a really, really, really long time, and they had a slot open to do like a 4-page, sort of short comic, and I was like, let's do this. And that was just one like, wish list artist to work with. I've worked with Fellhound a bunch, so I like working with her a lot. So I wanted to work with her again on a skit, and she did a cover too. Let's see who else. The skit that opens, and I keep calling them skits, and I don't know why. That's not what they are. They're short, but the one that
so our comedy readers might be a little disappointed when they.
Yeah, it's not improv. It's not. The first short that opens it up, though, is this artist named Caroline Elsner, and I tabled across from her at a convention a couple years ago, and she had these really, really awesome prints, and she doesn't do a ton of comic work that I'm aware of, but she was willing to do it with me for this, and it turned out awesome. I think her art's really good on this. But basically, it's like everybody that I want to work with, I try to squeeze into the project. I just have like a list of people I follow on Twitter. I'm like, oh, that's so good. I'm going to work with you someday. And as soon as a short lines up for it, I want to work with them and get them in.
I see this Fellhound design. That's classic Fellhound, even though it's fantasy and not sci-fi. You got the armor all over, so that's perfect use of her.
I'm sure there's abs there too. We just
Underneath, I bet there's a lot of abs.
Yeah, there's definitely abs.
Well, you mentioned Elden Ring, and that's not one that I've played, but a lot of people in the timeline have been playing it, so I've vicariously played it through others, I guess. But when you talk about the way you get bits and story, it takes me to Breath of the Wild, which is,
yes,
how do you tell a story where it can happen in almost any order? Which I think is such an amazing kind of challenge for somebody who's trying to write something. And obviously, in my opinion, they really pulled it off in Breath of the Wild because that builds and works. But I mean, you kind of have to throw out a little bit of, well, we have to have this building action, but they can do this plot element here. They can do this plot element here. I mean, it's really kind of fascinating.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I think that stuff is really been killing it, because Elden Ring operates very, very similarly. It's this idea that they're breadcrumbing the story all over, right? So anywhere you go, you can pick up a little bit of story, but there's not one really driving narrative force outside of like start at point A, get to point B, right? Like that's the main story there. I love it.
Nice. How long did it take you to get all your artists together? And how was that working with so many artists?
So since this was kind of like broken up into shorts over time, I mean, I think a lot of times when I found an artist I wanted, I knew who I wanted to work with. So I just asked them like directly. And if they were in, it could be like, within a day, or two, so you ask like, yeah, it sounds cool, we're in. In terms of putting it all together, the biggest hurdle, right, of getting things going is just having money to pay everybody. So like that's
I know that feeling.
like the biggest thing that extends the runway. If I could, I would work with like everybody. My life would just be comics, just constant. I love getting the emails, right, of the art.
Oh yeah.
So it would just be enough comics consistently that my email was never empty of just art.
Awesome.
No, we talk about the art emails coming in as just like, it's like Christmas for an indie writer. It's beautiful. Mm-hmm. And like you're coming up with the money for it. So you're sort of the mom and dad at Christmas, to take care of the kids, but then the kids are giving you these great presents, which maybe will allow you to earn enough money to, pay more artists. Some more. So it's hopefully a virtuous cycle and not an endless, getting sucked down in the water. It really depends on how you're doing. 1 month I'll be extraordinarily happy about how things are going, and the next month I'll be like, oh shit, I really got to do a Kickstarter really soon. I don't know what I'm going to do if I don't. Okay, the show can start. Ignacio is here. Hey, buddy, how are you? How is your drawing going this evening? Ignacio listens to us and draws, which is the height of a compliment. So,
Yeah. So, Frankie, on the art, you're working with lots of different art teams.
Hmm.
Are you working with a consistent letterer across all of those, or a consistent colorist, or is it really every team is separate?
Every team is separate. I mean,
Oh,
there's
wow.
a couple of letterers I like to work. Like I work with DC Hopkins a lot, so he letters a couple of the shorts in this one. But then I wanted to work with Kyla Aiko, who is a letterer and an artist, and they thankfully were able to letter one of the shorts too. And it really just depends on. Every short has a very specific vibe I want it to have, and so I want the whole art team to like reflect that and work with that. So having a cohesive like colorist or letterer would be like almost like the opposite of what I want to do.
Gotcha.
Yeah, you mentioned mood and vibe on the Kickstarter page. So, how do you what was in your mindset when you sat down and created these different skits as they were? Like, did you go in and be like, I want to explore a mood and come up with a plot for it, or did you have plots and think, oh, this plot feels like this mood? What came first?
It all usually starts not with any specific like goal. It starts with like one line pops into my head or something. I'm like, oh, that seems like something I could explore and go that way. So a lot of them were based out of that. The only one that I think was like, I know I'm going to do this. I don't know what it's about, but I know I'm going to do it, is the Broken Bear follow-up. So I knew I was going to do that with Adam and AHG. But that one, again, was more just like trying to just sit there and think about, one little beat to start with and then just go from there, as opposed to like saying, I'm going to talk about like home for this one. I'm going to talk about like sadness for this, stuff like that, instead of going that way.
Cool.
Did it feel like going back home, getting on a bicycle, writing with the Broken Bear stuff? Or was it hard?
No. I love working with Adam and AHG. We're like basically almost always working together. Like we finished Broken Bear, did a couple shorts in between, then did Eat My Flesh, Drink My Blood. Now me and Adam are working on something else that's a slow cooker sort of thing right now. But I hope I work with those two forever.
That's awesome to have that, like somebody that you can trust like that, you kind of know what to give them to make them excited.
Mm-hmm. And thankfully, like they are always down with my stupid ideas and they like will take it and they make it like look like serious art.
we like to call them courageous ideas on this show. They're almost always stupid, but to ignore the fact that they're stupid and do them, that's courage, brother.
That's right.
Bravery. So yeah.
Bravery.
And there's one writer I know who actually called something courageous fuckery. I don't know. I kind of like the guy from just that quote,
I do know that it was about Clay Adams. We're going to talk a lot more about pregnant bitches of war later on, but I do know that is the pull quote for PBOW and our buddy Clay Adams. And that is actually a really good segue. Clay actually brought up Rabbit's Badass Song to us. And he said, hey, I was just on a podcast with this writer team and this book came up, and he said, you got to get them on because the book's cool and they're cool. So let's take a second and do a deep dive on Rabbit's Badass Song. So that was, let's see here. We got Chastity. I'm going to make you start because you didn't have to do the elevator pitch. We like to be equal opportunity on who has to talk, not who gets to talk.
The introvert will talk.
Yeah, and you feel free to pass the baton. That is fine. As long as you start, you can pass the baton. But what was the first inkling of this story?
Well, it all kind of started with so I think everyone's pretty familiar with like the folk tale about Brer Rabbit.
Mm-hmm.
And that was always a fascination of his, but it was that in combination with this ongoing joke that we had with each other. And it was also a mixture of what's the director's name that did the
What Sweet Badass Song?
No,
Ralph Bakshi.
Yeah.
Ralph Bakshi, yeah, the animator.
What was the name of Street Fight?
It was originally called Coonskin, then they changed it to Street Fight.
Yeah, where it was like Ralph Bakshi's kind of like take on Brer Rabbit, and so we wanted to do our own take, like a modern take on Brer Rabbit. If that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I
Yeah.
should
Yeah.
let you take over.
No, it does make sense.
Yeah.
But I want to go through the steps from that to how do you go from a modern take on Brer Rabbit to like plotting this out and actually conceiving what the actual story would be. And either one of you can answer. We're not going to keep you on the spot all night. That's not fair. We want people to have fun.
Yeah.
Well,
That was like a 10-year journey.
it was a
right
10-year
there.
journey.
Yeah.
Nice.
So the thing about it is our backgrounds as well. We both come from film backgrounds. I was pretty much self-taught with film. You know, I've written screenplays and I worked on a lot of independent sets around our area. So, and I know a lot of the film community here. Chad actually went to school and graduated from Full Sail. So, in film. For a long time, we were gonna do film. We were, but that is, a beast of its own nature. Just, production and budget and stuff. And but at our heart, I've always been a comic book fan ever since I was a child. I've always loved comics. I've read them, and I've done art myself, and I was always like writing stories, and drawing them out and stuff. And I've worked, I had collaborated with friends over the years, so I knew the fundamentals of how to make a comic book, and that was always another possibility. Well, depending on what happens first, either we can make a movie or make a comic book. Heck, maybe and do both. Mm-hmm. But because of circumstances, we were in a situation where we could. The comic book was more accessible to do than the movie thing. So we didn't do Rabbit first. We had the idea for Rabbit, but we said, no, we can't put that out first. We got to get our feet wet and kind of show people what we can do. So we did a smaller story, which is this right here called Pop Singer. And it's a one shot. It's like a small little 20 page story about the Illuminati. And like, we kind of took like all the tropes and, the lore about the Illuminati and created like this actual story out of it. And that's how we found the artist for Rabbit. Because we said whoever we need a strong artist to do Rabbit. And we had guys in the past try out, do some preliminary drawings, but we still were looking for the right person. So I said, all right, when we do the Pop Singer story, that's how we'll find our guy. So I found a gentleman by the name of Halil Matei on Facebook, and he lives in Berlin. And I told him the story of Pop Singer. He was really on board because I saw his art. He was drawing a horror comic at the time. So, all right, I think he'll definitely work out. So when he gave me like the first 3 pages to Pop Singer, I already knew, he's going to be the guy for our next project. So we did Pop Singer. We did Pop Singer, and we actually put that up for free. We did the we got a new website we're building now, but our old website we had put it up for about a few months, and like said, look guys, like just check it out. We weren't asking anybody to buy anything. We wanted people to see what we could do, and we did like free little booklets and all that stuff, and people seen it. It was well received, and people wanted to know what we can do next, and that's when we started, doing stuff about Rabbit. We had already started drawing some of the pages out. We did some designs, so we were able to, feed that to people to keep them, anticipated to the release. So we actually put out issues 1 and 2 of Rabbit independently, all by ourselves. Okay. But all that said, getting back to how the process again, since we're both we got film background, and I got a comic book, comic background. If I was writing scripts for comics, Chassie's very well read. She reads a lot of novels, and all, she could easily write a book, without me or anything. Uh-huh. So, and she's very good at dialogue. So we were able to put that together. And our love for Quentin Tarantino films, we study a lot of his stuff, like his pacing and dialogue, and that we kind of our writing's kind of more like in that nature. So what we usually do is, after we came up with the concept for Rabbit, figure out who the characters were, where we're gonna go with the story. I kind of outline the whole thing. I do like real quick outlines, and then I hand it to her, and she's able to start adding the guts to it. She'll start flush out the story, putting the dialogue to it, and that's kind of like our first draft in a way. And I'll take that, and again, since I can do like little, like sketches, I'll break down the pages in the comic book form. Mm-hmm. From there, we'll start building an actual script. And so this whole process, we work very fast. So we can usually crank out the first actual comic book script within a week. We usually do about 3 passes within like a month. By the time we get that 4th one, we give it to the artist. And we always make this joke that we say the book gets made 3 times. It gets made when we write it. It gets made again when he draws it. And then it gets made again when a letter puts the letters on it. Because we're constantly tweaking things around to make sure everything fits correctly.
Absolutely.
So who's the letterer on the book?
Go ahead.
Tobin Rasico. I think that's how you say his last name. Yeah.
I noticed that very stark black and white. Is that just because that was the artist's style, or was that always how you wanted to do it? It looks amazing.
That is how we wanted it. We wanted it to be like very, what's the word? Kind of scary, a little
Like
bit.
gritty, noir.
Gritty, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It definitely has that Sin City feel to me, although the artwork's a little more detailed than Frank Miller did on Sin City, but it's definitely that stark black and white that is, it's black and white for a reason, and you could tell that from the second you look at the page, as opposed to it's black and white. And I'm not gonna, this is great for everybody. Black and white is cheaper to print, and you don't have to pay a colorist. So it is okay to do black and white just to save money if you're a creator. But it's better when you read a comic that's black and white, because the story should have been black and white.
Be exactly.
Right.
Yeah, it worked out really well all the way around with him. Like he got us, he understood it. So I just think we worked well together. Like, he.
Yeah. Like, we have some complicated scripts sometimes, and
they're very detailed. I won't say complicated.
I'm gonna call them complicated. But anyways, I think some artists have maybe struggled with that, like that we've tried out in the past. And Halil just, the second he got the script, he just knew exactly what we were saying, and it was, that's hard to find.
Well, one thing we do when our writing process, I'm a detail freak. I don't like leaving vague things, because that sometimes the artists, that can confuse them, because I've seen incidents where people, they get upset. The artist go, "Well, I didn't write it like this," and the artist's like, "Well, you didn't say anything. You literally said a guy jumps out of the building." That could be interpreted in 20 different ways. So we try to actually detail out more. And I'll always send photo references. If I can't do like a little crude sketch, I'll like put them in the direction like a film scene or another comic, anything, because I think details help, and that also helped us speed the process along. So there was never, I don't think there's ever a time he sent us anything and we were like, "No, that's not what we wanted." And even he really liked our scripts, and maybe there might have been a few things he suggested that we change, and we said, "Cool," So I always told him, like, take this, if you can make it better, we can work it out. There's no ego here. At the end of the day, it's about the book, not about us.
Right. So
it just works out.
And you said he's from Berlin, so I'm going to assume English is not his first language. So you need to be even more clear, right?
Yeah.
We've known Halil for about 2 years now, right?
Sorry,
about 3 years. I've never had a conversation. We've never video chat. We've never actually talked. We've always just text. We've talked about. I asked him, "Are you comfortable?" He said, "Yeah." He said, he wouldn't mind doing it, but we've just been texting and this work.
My artist is in France, and we do 95% of our relationship has been emails or DMs or whatever, because it's just easier. The first time I met him was at a comic convention. I flew up to New York and he flew over to New York, and we met, and it was the first time we'd ever spoken, and we had done 3 issues of comic together.
Wow.
But like, it is, I have to be very careful in a lot of the I'm not that detailed sometimes. So sometimes I'll put something in a script and I get a page back that's a little different, and I go back and I look at the script and I'm like, "Well, that's on you, Kevin. You just used American jargon and thought you could just get away with it, and this guy's using Google Translate and it didn't come out right." So then I've got to either fix the dialogue for what I did wrong, or sometimes I really have to all right, you have to change it, but it's not your fault. It's totally mine. So but I think detail's smart.
Sometimes it works out really great. You've got the symbol from Tart
That would be
Or-
Tart 11. Yeah.
Part 11. Yeah.
Yeah, we had one in Berlin, 1936, a little different Berlin than your artist works with, thankfully, with the swastika. But I wasn't going to have our girls wear an actual swastika. So what I wrote was instead of the swastika, it's 4 birds like this,
Yeah.
because it would still look like a swastika if it was done right.
Yeah.
And he didn't understand what I meant, so he drew 4 doves of peace. And I looked at it and I was like, that is beautiful. That is so good. I'm so glad he didn't, listen to me with my sort of hackneyed, just, I'm a cool guy thing. And he did this beautiful thing. And I asked him, he goes, oh no, I just didn't understand. I thought you wanted birds. So we accidentally did a gorgeous, beautiful thing because I did not write very well. So score 1 for comic writers. You mentioned reference. I'm going to ask the whole panel, what's the weirdest or craziest reference you've ever sent an artist?
I guess I can go first.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think.
Well, I already know the Klansman.
Oh,
So
yeah.
in issue 2 of Rabbit, it's a setup for issue 3, but one of his first opponents he's in a fight is this very roided out Klansman with a chainsaw. And and I've always had this image I wanted. I always thought like Leatherface meets a KKK member. So I knew he would not know what I was saying if I just wrote that script. So I had to uncomfortably pick pictures of Klansmen offline. And and actually picture Leatherface and kind of like I did a little sketch. I said, okay, take these 2 things and put them together. And he actually killed it. And we're actually going to show you right now. That's what he came up with.
I mean, let's pull the banner off.
Nice.
Oh, so yeah, he wants to hold it up
Oh,
again.
okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah,
No, that's not your
yeah.
fault. That's on us.
Oh,
wow. Yeah. No, that's like Bane in a clown clan.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with clown
Yeah.
outfit.
Clown, yeah.
Because they are.
Yeah,
Frankie,
that's
what's-
probably like one of the most awkward things we had to, talk about. But yeah.
Yeah, that's a tough Google search though, I'm assuming, because
Yeah.
when I was doing the Berlin Olympics, I was just getting, crowd shots and the shots of hundreds of people doing the Hail Hitler sign at once. You get this pit in your stomach of realizing that you've known it exists, it's real.
Right.
Looking at these photos as you're writing something, it disturbs me. I would assume it would.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Like, we see it all, you see it in the news and on TV, but when we actually do the deep dive, actually just look for that, like, oh man, this kind of sucks. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Frankie, have you sent any crazy references to artists?
Yeah. So back when I was working on Broken Bear with Adam, we have a scene where our lead fights like 4 monsters, and it's like a power set basically to like let the audience know how like capable she is as a swordsman. And I wanted them to be really gross, but I didn't have like a description in the script yet because I didn't know what I wanted them to look like. And I was walking down the street back when I lived closer to the city, and there was a dead squirrel on the side of like the street, and it's like, and I'm sorry, this is gonna be gross, its face was like degloved basically, like something happened to it. And of course my gross brain though saw it, was like, oh, that's gross. Like that is a creepy monster design. And so I had to like message Adam and be like, are you okay if I send you a picture of it as a reference?
Yeah. You found the squirrel that just happened to be exactly what you wanted to show the artist. We got you, Frankie. We know how you work. Will, what about you?
Yeah, I was trying to think. It's nothing too weird. In something I'm writing now, I have, it's a fantasy thing that is ballooned to like 200 pages, and I'm still not done with it because I suck. But anyway,
That's a long skit, dude.
Yeah, I know, it's a really long skit. I don't know if the punchline's going to be there or not. I guess we'll see. But I was talking about, let's see, there's Saber Grip and the opposite of Saber Grip, which I can't remember the name of.
Buickless Saber Grip.
But I had one of the characters she was going to have one sword saber grip, the other sword, down, the opposite of saber grip, because she was getting ready to do some serious damage to some things. So I wrote like this paragraph, well, this is the difference between saber and this is the difference between here. And then I think I included a link to the descriptions and maybe a picture or something. But the weirdest thing is probably a satellite phone. I'm like, here's what a satellite phone looks like, that you can carry around, and it's big and it looks like a big old stupid cell phone.
No, but it's important, because if someone literally drew it like a satellite in somebody's hands, you're saving them time by giving them reference. I did Family Circus once. I wanted to show that our Cherry Macabre was really a badass, so I wanted her to have killed a bunch of demons, but wanted to show where she had been in this huge room, basically by the bodies on the floor. So I just found the old Family Circus where they had the dots of where the kid walked around the neighborhood. And I was like, it's not going to look like this, but this is sort of what I want it to look like. And then Ludo just killed it. So that's awesome. So I love it. Rabbits, how you said issue 3, how long is this envisioned to go?
The entire story, 10 years. It would take
you're going for it. All right.
Yeah, well, we got some plans, and we also want to, Rabbit himself, we don't want to just tell a story. We want to make a brand out of him, and even if you never read the book, if you saw the fate, the mask, and all that, oh, that's Rabbit. I think that I'm a big fan of stuff that transcends things, and hopefully this can be one of them.
Yeah.
So you said 10 years. Do you have like a page count in mind, or like a total page count, or a total issue count, or what are you kind of moving toward?
It's how many issues?
So Rabbit, it'll be about almost 100. It'll almost be 100 issues.
Wow.
And in between that, there's spinoffs. There'll be other books, maybe just not necessarily like continuation, but like one shots of other characters, but it all plays into his story. So yeah.
It took us like a decade to write this thing, so we've been working on it.
So if this works out well, there is a Rabbit Bible where I have everything written down, timelines, everything. Like it's a lot. It's a lot of stuff we've been, I would like George Lucas, how he just got all this stuff for Star Wars written down. We've done the same thing. Because, at some point we might have to bring up writers and do stuff, and we want to maybe give them something to reference, because that's, you see it all the time when you bring different writers into these projects and the continuity just goes to shit. We don't want that to happen. So.
Well, I just hope Vader's not Rabbit's father.
No. There are plot twists, though.
Oh man, I don't know. I saw Vader kicking some ass today, so I don't know. No spoilers, but I saw Vader kicking some pretty goddamn cool. Ass.
That was pretty cool.
They said Rogue One's got nothing on this. We're gonna make Rogue One look like shit.
No, episode 3 is pretty good.
Yeah. So you talked about like the filmmaking. I remember I just like to write. Whatever it is, I like to write. Like we've been joking about sketch comedy. I love to write just a sketch. I love to write, screenplays, short stories. I cannot write a novel. I did not have the discipline to write a novel, but shorter stuff. I just like to do it. And I had these screenplays that are, sitting in a drawer, and me and the people that wrote it have read them, and that's it. And all I need to do is come up with 400,000 to 4 million, and I could film that, and people could see the story. Or I could write a comic and come up with somewhere between $2,000 and $10,000, and people can read the story. And I don't know about $10,000, but I can probably come up with 2,000. So that's kind of why I'm in comics as much, because I just want my stories to be read, seen, felt. And it's the only thing that I can afford to do that you can get anybody's attention. If short stories got people's attention, that'd be great, but they don't tend to. So I love the thought that you're doing this comic and you have the ability, if it catches fire, to maybe do it yourself. That's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I still have my equipment, but like that stuff changes like every day technology advances, so like my equipment is getting older every day, so it's not going to do much good for long.
Well, the big problem is with making a comic book independently versus making a film independently is with the comic, once it's done, you can put it out there wherever, you use Kickstarter or go to the local comic book shops, conventions, and you can at least get it in people's hands and sell it and stuff. A movie is a little harder because you can't just do that with movies. You got to go to distribution, and that's a nightmare. And it's gotten worse. We have a lot of friends that they're doing that right now. Going to the American film market and all that. And a lot of these films just until they're seen, they kind of sit there, and it's rough. And you got like 10,000, at least 10,000 plus tied into these things. Gets a little tough.
I found that someone can read at their own pace, but a movie moves at its own pace, and you have to pay attention the whole time, and that might not be in everyone's want to do. And so it's easier, I think, to get your story out there when someone can read it.
Yeah, I think people they'll give an independent comic a bit more fair chance than an independent film. It's hard to get people to sit down and watch an unknown film for the first, unless it's horror. It's kind of like one exception. Is you usually can get people to watch that, but if you hand somebody a comic, they'll at least look at the image, and if they like it, they might scroll through it. Whereas a movie, you only got like 5 seconds to catch their attention.
Horror fans seem to me a bit like comic fans in that they like the genre as much as they like any,
right.
It's the genre of comics. You get your people who like fantasy, your people who like superheroes, your people who like, if you're in that realm, they want to try you out. And if you're good, they're going to stay with you. If you're not, they're not going to give up on comics. They're going to just go to the next fantasy. Mm-hmm. And horror people seem to be like that. I tend to feel like pro wrestling, comic books, and horror fans are this weird where usually people have a foot in both, in 2 of the 3, if not all 3.
Which is interesting Venn diagram, right?
Yeah. And it's a lot of good.
It's all diehard communities that, like you said, are going to support everything. I can't believe how many people, like creators, fans in the comic community, that are just willing to give a shot to any book basically that comes across. As long as it's something they find interesting, they're willing to get it out more often than not.
Yeah, and if you've ever done a Kickstarter and you see somebody else doing a Kickstarter, you're like, oh, I can make them feel the way I felt when somebody backed me for $5.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, why not? And it's just, hey, you know what? I back a lot, and I like a lot of what I back. And sometimes I get a book that isn't for me. I'm so glad I backed it.
Yeah, the creator got the chance to make it.
And there's somebody else out there. And 9 times out of 10, when I get a book, I'm like, oof, I don't know. 3 days later, I'll see the creator retweet somebody saying, this book meant so much to me because blank, blank, and blank. And I just am not that audience.
Mm.
It's not a bad book because it wasn't for me. It's just not for me. That's. Yeah. So it's cool. It's cool. Now, no one who's ever been on Explain Yourself. All of our books are good.
Yeah.
Right, Will? Actually, I think that's true. I haven't disliked any of the books I've gotten that have been on the show. I can say that.
It's funny because we've talked about this a lot. The indie comics community, itself is really, really very supportive, of just people coming in, hey, you got a story to tell your story. We'll support you. It's awesome. But then the Kickstarter comics community is also just super supportive, because it's about, creators like, hey, I've got a campaign running. Hey, let me shout out this other campaign or these other 2 or 3 campaigns because they're also running, and I think you might like, you supported me, maybe you'll want to support them. I mean, it's really just such an amazingly supportive community that crosses, the Kickstarter comics community and the indie comics community, and together, we're what, if you count Kickstarter as what, the 3rd largest publisher of comics, these days, from the direct market standpoint. Yeah. I mean, it's insane.
If we can take Brian Sanderson's novels and call them comics, we're number 1.
Oh, like by a mile.
I don't think we're allowed to, but if we can,
We might as well. We'll just do it.
Yeah.
We make the rules, right?
yes.
This is our first Kickstarter ever.
Oh,
This is our
okay.
first crowdfunding thing ever, and so it's been
It's been interesting.
it's been
I
scary.
mean,
for
I
me.
backed prior to I got a lot of friends to do these. I backed Kickstarters and stuff, but just doing it ourselves is the first time because again, up to this point, we're pretty much we're independent. We had the funds to make the books ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
and like this right here is again, we're just trying to. We're seeing maybe expand,
Yeah.
get some more readers in it. And the money we make just goes into getting the next book done. That's all, at the end of the day, our only goal with this is to get the next book done. It's not about making money because that doesn't forget that happening.
Yeah.
No, we're not
So,
making this money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's just tell the story now, and then we hopefully it all works out at some point.
I
Well,
tell go ahead.
Yeah, Kevin, we joke a lot about Kickstarter Math.
Mhm.
Because we learned Kickstarter Math from the master Tyler James of
Mhm.
Comics Launch, and it's weird if there's a range. If you're like 25% or more funded in your first 2 days, you've got a 50-60% chance of funding the book. If you're once you hit 50%, you have is it 90%, Kevin?
It's over 90%,
over
wherever it
90%.
is. So anybody who hits 50% at any point in their campaign is like 90% likely to fund. It's the craziest thing. And you run into people who, I get it. Your first, second, third campaign, you're like $900 away from your $3,000 thing, and you've only got 15 days to go, and you haven't had a backer in 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
So like,
Been there.
you're getting scared, and I'm like, you're gonna make it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you can say that. No, I'm like, no, Kickstarter Math, you're gonna make it.
Yeah.
And then they make it, and they're like, you were right about the Kickstarter Math, and I'm like, it's not that I'm smart. I've just seen it happen.
Yeah.
Over and over and over again, because the community that's already been there for you is not going to let you fail.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to, because now they're part of it. Now everybody's hand is on an oar. Now we're rowing together. Whereas somebody, funds in the first 4 hours, it's like, great, good for them. They're funded, and I hope they make more. That's awesome. But I'm pulling for this guy who, James Powell had 2,000 to go with like 6 days,
like 4 days, I think it was.
Man.
and he's like,
A couple days. Awesome.
I know what you're saying. I know you're right, but it's just tough. And I'm doing this, that, and the other. The other thing is he worked his ass off. So I don't want to take it away from James because he worked his ass off. But it was like, you saw it that last 18, 20 hours, the community just came out.
Yep.
I saw more House of Fear in that 24 hours than I saw.
And
at
there's
any other
Kevin
point.
freezing right
But that's what's great about it. You'll see like one person like just tweet and they'll be like, this campaign's got 48 hours and $900 to go. Like, let's go. And then
Yeah.
all right.
Well, and and the community's doing all this work, to get the book, the community around the book, and then the community, Kickstarter community is doing everything to get the book going. But then the Kickstarter algorithms, because at 48 hours, messages go out, which is always this, at 48 hours, that's usually when a spike starts, because, that's when all those messages go out. And then with 8 hours left, I think Kickstarter sends out more messages. So, and, they're also showing it. I think it was funny. Kevin and I are friends with a lot of other Kickstarter backers. And we got an update from one of them. And then at the bottom, Kickstarter, says, hey, you might like this, this, and this. And it was 3 of our other friends,
Yeah.
So we're like, hey, it's a wipe here. It's all of the things.
The algorithm had us set.
Yeah.
Blake is saying that the Kickstarter community is like a 3-month-long group hug during a beautiful summer at a not creepy commune. I think all communes are creepy, but that's okay. I agree with you about the group hug part. Yeah, they're going to get creepy by the end. No commune is going to stay non-creepy. Not saying I haven't been in a cult. I'm just saying it was creepy.
They're not saying.
We all get led astray every once in a while, right? Right.
Absolutely.
So, Frankie, I didn't ask you, and I apologize. Are there more Amber Door stories in the? I'm sorry, more Amber Door skits in the future, or is
You're
this
gonna run
a
that
one
into the
and done?
ground, man.
Yeah.
Hey, this is our XL for the night.
Okay.
It's a skit heavy series. There's gonna be a lot of skits. That's the plan.
Nice,
Like,
nice.
so they have a 10-year plan. This is something I hope I can just kind of do on and off when I have free time to just put these together, and then like maybe every 6 months or every year just release the next, edition of however many shorts I've collected up to that point. It's just a fun, for me, it's an awesome writing exercise. I get to write and work with all these amazing artists. So I'll just do it for as long as I can keep like crapping ideas out of my head.
That's a writer calling his ideas crap. I was at a show once where a guy was going down trying to invite the artist to a show he was putting on, and he goes, "Yeah, you guys can come out. You can bring all this crap." And the artist next to me is like, "Did you just call my stuff crap?" I thought it was funny. The artist next to me didn't think it was funny. But I thought it was hilarious. He's like, "You bring all this shit."
Artists are very sensitive people. No matter how great, they could be Jim Lee level. They're very sensitive.
Cried. That one convention we went to, we had they're limited to 100. There are these free little preview books, kind of like ash cans with like Pop Singer, and it's the first appearance of Rabbit technically because it's a preview of it, like in the back.
Mm-hmm.
And we hand numbered and signed all 100 of these things, and we were giving them out for free. And there was someone who was really interested, so I gave him one, and he rolled it up around his cup that was cold and had condensation on it.
Oh,
And
But that's good though. I mean, it's more.
No,
Yeah.
the other 99 are more valuable
There
already.
you go.
Yeah.
That's how you look at it.
I almost cried.
Yeah, and I bet he didn't mean it at all. He just was
No.
talking to you and literally just not thinking, and he did it. But it's just,
Yeah.
I hope so.
Oh,
hey man, I don't know how I'd feel if I gave it away free and they did that. But if I sell it, they can burn it in front of me. I don't care.
yeah.
Hey, I know, right? Hey, they paid for
You
it.
pay for it.
Yeah.
Frankie, I'm sorry I missed what you're saying.
No, that you're exactly right. If they pay me for it, they could if I was at a con and I was like, "That's $5," and they gave me $5 and they just ripped it up in front of my face, be like, "Okay,
I hope you got $5 worth of enjoyment out of that.
yeah." Well,
The best thing for your heart and soul, not for your pocketbook because you don't sell a lot of these, but the best thing for your heart and soul is do something for very little kids. Because the 3-year-old that gets your comic, you're going to see them 4 hours later hugging it, just having already destroyed it, but destroyed it with love and enjoyment. So for your heart and soul, do it. Now for your pocketbook, people at conventions buy for themselves, not their kids. So I'm not saying it's a bad business plan, but for your soul, it's lovely.
When you're giving out the bookmarks
Yeah.
with the title "Rabbit's Badass Song" and the cover of the book, and little kids kept walking by the table and being like, "Ooh, what is this rabbit character?" And we're like,
It was
I don't know what
interesting.
to do. Where are your parents?
So clearly, this is a kid's book, right? But
It seems
Not
that way.
rabbits. Come on.
every time a child would go past their parents, they were looking at them. So I told Chad, "You see that right there? Pay attention to that. That means it works. Even though it's not for kids, I mean, they're the ones. If the thing stays around, they're the ones that are going to keep it going. Just like we did when we were kids. We saw like Freddie and Jason and all that stuff. So that I told her that's a good sign.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the moms let the kids, all 3 of the kids, have a bookmark, and I was like, okay, as long as you're okay with it.
Whatever.
Hey, that's on
whatever
her.
works.
Hey, they like it. They like it.
Yeah.
And again, I mean, our book. I mean, the book it's violent. It's got some language and stuff. There's no sexual stuff in it, but there's definitely books way more hardcore than ours that very accessible to young people. You know, I think our book, I think Family Guy is probably more offensive than our book.
I mean, it depends on your definition of
Yeah.
offensive,
Yeah.
I think.
But it goes in different directions too. It's not all. I mean, there's actual stories, not just kill,
Yeah,
kill,
and that's
all
the
that
other
crap.
thing too.
So.
Like, this is just like the Klansman and everything,
Yeah,
and then like it's moving
yeah.
up. This is just this is Rabbit's origin story. Because once we get past these first 12 issues, it's not about that anymore. Like, I don't want people to think it's about that either.
Yeah, it's not about. I mean, there's a little bit of racial stuff going on it, but it's not. That's not the story. There's no political agenda. It's merely just to tell his origin, because we figured if we're gonna do the story that's gonna take place over 10 years, people have got to be invested in him first, or the story doesn't work. So it's you get to know everything about this guy. So hopefully by the end of the first 12 issues, you're on board. You'll follow him wherever he goes. So.
Nice. Well, I have some good news. We got a message from Krista Crawford, who said that didn't know if she was going to be able to make it because of a traffic incident. And I see her in the thing. Hey.
Hey, Kevin. How's it going?
It is great. How are you? Are you fine, or are you hydrated?
I am doing good. Today was a very day of ups and downs. I was late for work for the first time in 7 years. So that was a little traumatizing. But I walked into an encore from the patients who were waiting for me, who didn't care how late I was. So that was exciting.
Well, we don't care how late you are, and we're excited to have you. So we're going to give you an encore as well. Thank you. So this is perfect timing. We can get slowly. I know that you just got here, but we can talk about The Wolf and I. If someone was coming past you in a comic convention, what would you say to them in like 20 seconds to get their attention about the book?
Oh, this is a great pitch because I actually just came off Phoenix Comic Con. This is my friend Jonna, who was here. She was my booth babe, and then my little one, my mini me. So my 20-second pitch for Wolf and I, it's a young adult fantasy comic series following the lives of two female heroines who grew up thinking they were humans, and the fairy tales they were told as children were tales. When they realized that dark creatures start coming out of the corners, strange powers start manifesting, and the stories they were told as children are actually more reality than fantasy, they're whisked off to the land of Crowdfunding, where they're forced to face their destiny to help save the land from being overtaken by the Dark Wolf shapeshifter clan.
Nice.
20-minute pitch.
Yeah, and that grabs people, that gets people. What I latch onto that is the tales they were told were fairy tales, and that's where I was like, because that tells me there's some stuff about to happen.
Oh,
I'm gonna pull up the page.
Yes.
Yeah, let's look at some of it. How did this story come about for you?
So I actually started the story of Wolf and I started writing it about 15 years ago, and it was supposed to be well before even Esme was even a thought in the universe.
She was going to write a book.
I was going to write a book. And so I actually have about 80% of an actual novel written for Wolf and I. But as artists, we are our worst critics. So I constantly was like sending chapters to Jonna, sending chapters to my other friend, like, what do you think about this? What should I change about this? I don't like the way that this is flowing. And so over the last 15 years, I was like, this story's never going to come to fruition. I keep changing things. I keep, maturing as a writer, as an artist. And I was like, I'm never going to be happy with where it's at because I'm always wanting to grow and learn, but I want to put it out there. And so that's where Wolf and I issue 1. 2020 was a year of growth for me. I wanted to grow. I wanted to change. I was graduating with my doctorate, and this was pre-COVID, of course. I was like, I'm going to take on the world. So let's put Wolf and I out as a comic, because at least if I put it out one issue at a time, it's out there. And then I have no choice but to accept it as it is, be happy with where I am, move on to the next chapter, and then be okay with growing and seeing the growth that I've made in future issues.
And one day it might be actually a book.
Yep. That is the goal, is that one day after I've put out all, fixed all the kinks and all the fun things, that we'll actually publish it as a real book.
Well, but you do all of the art and the writing, correct?
I do for the interior. So all of the writing, the art, the lettering is all done by me. I do hire out for the flats as a way to support a friend who is an artist as their career. I do have the great flexibility of being a pediatric nurse practitioner as my trade. And so, art is my passion, although there are wonderful student loans to pay off. So one comic at a time, right? But I have had a great throughout the issues. This is issue 4 that I've launched on Kickstarter. And I have just collaborated with some amazing artists to help them grow, to help, bring people to Wolf and I to do variant covers. So the interiors are all me, but the variant covers are done by a variety of different artists.
And they're gorgeous.
Thank you. And then the nice thing too is I like to bring on a lot of indie smaller comics. So my sister does some stickers for me. My daughter does some stickers as stretch goals. And then my friend Jonna also does some like stickers and bookmarks for our stretch goals too. Because that's always the fun thing about Kickstarters. You're not just getting a comic, but you're supporting a creator's dream. You're supporting like the comic coming to life. And so as a reward for kind of helping this dream come true, you get like a unique, one of a kind edition that nobody else is ever going to get unless they helped bring this dream to reality.
And I am a pin collector, so I love the pins personally. So I have my little pin board.
Yes, I do too. That was one of my favorite things for add-ons is creating a unique pin for every single issue that's come out. That's what I love about this industry. We have so many unique creators, so many unique artists, and art can be portrayed in so many different ways. And you have some people who love to collect art, and you have some people who are just pin collectors or sticker collectors, or who traditionally read books, and so they want bookmarks. Because I'll be honest with you, I lose bookmarks left and right, and so half the time I use like a receipt or a piece of toilet paper that I found.
Or a napkin, a non-used one, because you don't want to damage the book.
Of course.
So we've got lawful good over here, and we've got chaotic neutral over here with the bookmarks.
We balance each other out pretty well.
I'm the chaotic one.
Okay.
I'm the center.
No, I think I saw on the page these started a long time ago. How did you start writing the story?
So I have worked in the medical industry for many, many years, and a lot of my stories have come from working night shifts in the ICU and the NICU and getting to help kids like through a lot of the traumas that they go through. It's hard enough to be a kid, but when you're a kid in the hospital for days to weeks to months, a lot of what you see is just blank walls and beeping of machines. And as a creator, that was really hard for me to see these kids go through a lot of these things. So I started writing stories. Wolf and I was definitely one of them, but also a lot of other mini stories and anthologies and, different characters that I create based on these kids' interests in order to help them get through the long nights. Cause it's hard to sleep when you're being woken up every 2 hours for vital checks and medicine. And so it was my way of helping them cope through some of these long nights. And it kind of, these characters just came to life in my head and they continued to live in there. So even when on days that I wasn't working in the ICU and I wasn't on shift, they continued to live these lives and these stories just came to life inside my head.
That's beautiful.
That is beautiful.
Oh, you're gonna cry.
All right. I think this is the first time we've had somebody cry on the show. Will.
For a good reason.
Not
For a good
to make
reason.
you cry, I promise.
We've actually been following each other on Instagram for a long time. I've been looking at your stuff. I said, "Oh, I remember. I know who she is."
I'm one of those like diamond in the rough kind of people. It's funny because like I know a lot of people. My husband runs the print shop here in Ville and designs here in Arizona, so we work with a lot of indie like comic creators. And just through my volunteer work, like going to the hospital, we dress up as princesses. We do a lot of Comic-Cons. We do a lot of volunteer events. And so we've met a lot of these creators. And so we just have like a whole network of really close individuals. And it's just exciting to be able to work in the community, to promote like art, to get kids excited about art and comics. Because, we grew up reading books. We grew up reading comics. But if our kids don't get that same like interaction, who knows what they'll do when they're adults. They may not be comic writers, and we want comics to last forever. And so it's instilling that love of books and comics in them at a young age that's going to carry them through their whole lives.
And at the con, we were princesses, and how many little kids ran up and be like, you're our favorite princess to
Mhm.
all of us. There was 4 of us total. And just having those children walk up and run and hug us
Yeah.
was 10 times better than when you've cosplayed, like I feel personally,
Yeah.
as an anime character
Yeah.
of your favorite show. I'm like,
And the same thing with
doing
like,
a princess
yeah.
and having so many out so far of a reach.
Or
was a
even
lot
thinking
different.
like as a kid, like what books inspired me? What books do I still like contribute today for how I am as an adult that got me through the hard times that, you know, kind of focused me like what I wanted to do with my life.
Yeah, I can look back on The Hero and the Crown by Robin McKinley
Mhm.
as basically creating my acceptance as a 12-year-old boy to a female hero being the lead of a book, a movie, a whatever.
Or an
Which,
anime or a comic. Or video,
yeah.
not even.
Yeah, and it's just literally just, it was probably the first time that I ran into it, but I loved that book so much that I didn't care that I didn't look like Erin. I didn't care. She was awesome.
It just
And
made an impact on your life, and it changes how you think about decisions. It changes how you think about other people. It changes how you feel about yourself too. And that impacts you. We don't live one day, 1 week, 1 month. I mean, we live years, and every single interaction we have, every person we talk to makes an imprint on our life, no matter how small or how big. And you don't realize how some of these impacts can really have on your lifelong like ideal of yourself.
Well, as a father of she's 13 now, so she's not as much, but
Yeah.
if she does see a Belle at a comic convention, she's happy to see a Belle.
Yeah.
But I can say that everybody who dresses like a princess and is accessible to a very young child is
Yes.
a superhero, because
Yes.
they are in the land of Arendelle when they see Anya. They are not. They don't see somebody else. You
No, and they
transport
don't
them.
see the art behind them. They don't see the different. No, they see their favorite princess, and they run up, and their whole day is made.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't even see like if your facial features aren't exactly the same.
They're
or
just
something.
so excited to meet their hero.
Yes.
Jasmine at Disney actually recognized my daughter the second time we went. She went,
Yeah.
"Have I met you before?" We were like,
Oh.
See, I took my daughter, and she got to do a walk around with Goofy because she had Goofy ears.
"Oh, nice."
It was,
And they
so
remember that their
phenomenal.
whole life. I
They
mean,
do.
years later, they still are like, "Mom, do you remember when I went and I gave Goofy a hug, or when Pluto gave me a hug, or when I did this?" You know, and even like as adults, like I think back and I'm like, wow, like that just made my day. It made my month. It made my week. And I'm able to take that happiness and spread it to so many other people. And ultimately, you know, that's why I'm an artist. I want to make someone's day. I want to make people's dreams come true. I want to support other artists. And that's the great thing about our community. There's a comic for everybody. There's a character for everybody. But the big thing is you got to support each other, because without it, it's just going to be a bridge that collapses. We're each supporting structures, and we all create this giant universe that everybody belongs in.
Yeah, I totally agree. And you can see some people who don't actually believe that come in, and they don't hang around very long, because it's just so much easier. You know, I'm going to use the same exact thing. It's so much easier when we're all rowing together. We all move forward. But you know, it's rising tide floats all the boats. So let's help each other out, and let's work. And I want young adult and little kid comics for the most selfish reason in the world, because I write adult comics, and I want in 8 years for someone to mature into them and buy them.
Think of like the stories you grew up with, and they resonate with you even as an adult.
Yes, you think back to them. I mean, every day, every decision I make, I think back, and sometimes I'm like, well, you know, what would Frodo do? What would Harry do? Like if they were living in my shoes today, like what kind of decisions would they make? You know, if they were faced with a challenge that really like made their day tough, would they just like cry it out and go like mope in the corner? No, they would like stand up and they're like,
Well,
how would I
well,
face this?
I
How would I
think-
go about my challenges? Like,
I
who
think
would I talk
Frodo
to?
would. I think Frodo would stand in the corner
Yeah.
and cry, and then Sam would pick him up.
True. But it was their whole gang together, and that's, you know, brings in the unity of friendship, and you know that you're not just by yourself. You have to know who's around you and who's your supporting buddies that'll get you through to the end. You know, because without Sam, you know, Lord of the Rings would be like poopy.
Will is my
Would not have
Sam.
the same ending.
Yeah, Will is my Sam, and I am everybody's Pippin.
Yeah.
That's my
Nice.
job. Blake, earlier we were talking about crying. Blake from Blake's Buzz says, I'm always crying in the comments because of the money you make me spend. Yeah, that is our job to do. And a greetings, everybody, from Monterrey, Mexico. Julio, thank you for watching. Good
Hi,
to see you, buddy.
Julio.
I appreciate it. No, and Frankie popped off. It could be late for him, or it could be a technical thing. But
I will say, like, it was when you were like, "Oh, it's 11, o'clock." I was like, "Oh, thank goodness, that's like 8 o'clock here. That's like prime time. The kids winding down. We're winding down over here on the West Coast."
He's back. Oh, good.
Frankie's back.
Yes.
Hey, Frankie.
We're fine if you dip, but if you got to go, but if it's technical, we'll always let you back in.
Yeah.
That tends to be my end, is I'm like, "Oop, I pressed the wrong button."
We find the West Coast people are usually hungry. The East Coast people are usually tired. That's kind of how we lose
We're
people
full.
depending on the coasts.
After the whole
Korean barbecue.
after the whole tire fiasco, we decided to go all you can eat Korean and then pop on.
Oh,
Nice.
I could not stick another bite of food in this mouth.
We have this amazing restaurant that's down the street that they have the grills built into your table, and you just order whatever meat, like nonstop,
Phenomenal.
all meats, all appetizer, all included, and you just cook them on your table in front of you. And
Those
so
are fun.
it's
Hawaiian
amazing.
barbecue was my favorite.
Mm.
Hawaiian barbecue pork belly.
Yes.
Okay.
Not
So
to make
was
you
this-
hungry.
That it's late, and I need my midnight snack, so it's dangerous. But
Well, we have lots of snacks if you were closer. We actually, so we just got off Phoenix Comic-Con this weekend. And so for the convention, we threw a barbecue. We love, like, again, I love celebrating. I love indie comics. And so we always throw a big barbecue Friday of our big, like, local convention. So we smoked all day meat all day long, but we made this really awesome popcorn. It was firecracker popcorn. It was popcorn. And then it had Chex Mix, pretzels, homemade Rice Krispies, white chocolate, and then we put Pop Rocks and sprinkles. So every bite like crackled and popped in your mouth. It was like a kid's dream come true.
So
Dirty in your mouth.
Will Phoenix Comic-Con next year?
Maybe. I don't know,
we
man.
get a table.
Come down to us. Come down to Phoenix.
My door is open. We made enough food for probably 20 or 30 people, and I think maybe 15 showed up. So I had leftovers. I still have leftovers.
I think there was more than 15.
I think there was close to 20 people. It was a pretty good turnout for a con.
You could stay here, Kevin. You could come here on the way, and then we could go from here.
Yeah. No, I do
You're
not.
always welcome.
I might drive to Arkansas. I'm not driving from Florida to Arizona. I'm flying.
Well, if you're in Florida, I will fly and go to Disney World and Universal Orlando anytime.
All right, we'll meet at the collective.
Casa es su casa. All I need is some floor space, about 5 foot by 1.5.
We can make that happen.
I'm like Hobbit size, so I'm really easy to accommodate. You got a closet I can sleep in there.
I'm unfortunately quite a few inches taller than her.
So was this your first show? Was this your first show, or have you?
No, I've been doing Comic-Cons. Oh gosh, 8-9 years now.
Oh
We'll
wow,
not discuss that.
veteran, huh?
Not to show our ages here.
We'll go with yes. It was our first show too.
Of course, we're just beautiful new princesses to the comic. No, this was my first show having my actual comic and print at conventions. I've been doing Comic Cons for about 9 or 10 years now. I'm selling like a lot of fan art and then like stickers and handmade like comic-y inspired stuff. But I started writing my comic series in 2020, right before like the global
COVID.
pandemic happened. That was a year of interesting things. I launched my first Kickstarter. I graduated with my doctorate. I did not get my first job in 2020. That waited a year.
There weren't many openings out
No, but my business grew, so that was kind of interesting. My husband and I run Hero and Villain Designs print shop, so we print comics and prints and stickers and banners and business cards and pretty much anything paper product. And so in 2020, when a lot of the like local comic shops that had actual like storefronts shut down, we really reached out to creators, especially ones doing Kickstarters, and we're like, hey, we're a local mom and pop comic shop, print shop, and we can still help you. We run out of our house. We're all vaccinated, let us help you continue to you run your careers as artists through Kickstarter and Etsy and other like indie shops, and still get you the products you need, because a lot of our competitor print shops shut down completely during the pandemic.
Well, and I feel like a lot of people had their online stores also
because nobody could
became
go
more
anywhere.
booming, I guess, if you'd say it.
Yeah.
Well,
So
speaking of conventions, Frankie, Chris Chastity, how have conventions been for all of you?
I haven't been back yet. I hopefully will go. I was going to go to C2E2 this year, but I actually accidentally double booked it. So I'll be in their state then, which is unfortunate. But so hopefully next year, I guess I'll get started. I have so much product.
No, because you double booked it, after you look back, did you make the right choice?
Yeah, because you had two choices.
I feel pretty good about my choices.
Good.
Okay.
Good. You're the positive Gwyneth sliding door. I'm glad. To hear that. Well, you told the story about the 100 ash cans. That was I'm assuming your first convention. Have you done many, or is that the only one you've done?
That's the first one we actually were selling books at. I've been to quite a few conventions. That was last year with the was it the Fanboy Expo?
The Knoxville.
In Knoxville, Fanboy Expo. But we usually have Richmond does a Comic-Con like twice a year. Last year was like the first after the pandemic kind of cooled down. They started back up. But there's been quite a few conventions we've been checking out. So it's been pretty good.
So would you say that the attendance was pre-COVID good, or more or less?
It was pretty. It was pretty crowded.
Was it?
I think so.
I felt like there used to be a line out the door.
I mean, the one in Knoxville was pretty huge because everybody.
Because
because William Shatner was there and George Takei. Yeah, that one huge. Richmond, the second one after the pandemic, like that, it started picking back up.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people were coming out for it. I think everybody got accustomed to the face mask and just taking the proper steps, not to
Yeah. Well, that was our wonder before we went to the convention. We're like, how is the attendance going to be? Are we going to see a lot of the people we know? Are we going to see new faces? Are we going to see more faces? Because you never know, especially since so many people have been homebound for the last so many years.
Phoenix was very interesting. Now, originally they canceled, of course, 2020. They canceled
January
2021. Then they were going to make it January 2022, and they canceled that one because we had another big spurt here in Arizona. And being a pediatric nurse practitioner, I've really followed their trends closely because, of course, we're seeing kids in clinic that are positive, and so kind of just watching and seeing how the community goes. How unfortunately, when they bumped it back to May again, they put it at the same weekend as Star Wars convention, which is just 5 hours away in Anaheim.
And the beginning of summer here.
Yeah. And Comic-Con here in May is not beautiful because it's 120 degrees outside.
The idea of wearing a ball gown in January is so much more appealing than wearing a ball gown in the end of May.
But I feel like a lot of the attendees, when I talked to them, or not the attendees that showed up, but the attendees that originally planning to come in January, had bought their tickets for Star Wars convention because they thought Phoenix was going to be in January and Star Wars was going to be in May, and then it ended up being the exact same weekend. So we had a lot of vendors and a lot of attendees who just
didn't show up,
ate the cost and didn't show up because they couldn't get a refund.
Oh man.
Oh no, that's terrible. They couldn't get a refund when you change the.
Yeah.
There's so many stories of people not being cool with other people with money with this pandemic, and it's like we're all we're all in this, right? Like, right? Well, I guess like some of us are not in this, which is why we're all still in it. But
This
like,
is true. This is true.
Some people
can't they
refuse
just
the
be like,
needle.
yeah, offer it. Like, yeah, okay.
And I get
Pay-
it. Like, everybody's got their opinion. Everybody's going to do what they want to do. Clearly, as a medical provider, you know, I'm very pro-vaccine, but you know, there are situations.
You're pro-vaccine, anti-mask, just
Get the shot.
Just
Don't
like
wear the
go back
mask.
to normal. I'm ready to see people. I'm ready to go to conventions. I'm ready to dress up. I'm ready to talk about art again.
Yeah. No, I do understand that. I agree.
I missed it.
Yeah, I did.
My-
You know, coming back was like a family reunion. Getting to see
beautiful.
friends I hadn't seen in 3 years. You know, whether the money was good or not good, or we broke even or we made money, like, you know, that was like, you know, in the wind. The big thing was like, I haven't seen you in 3 years. Like, how are you doing? How's your family doing? You know, how's your mental health doing? What have you been up to? What have you tried new? What are the new hobbies that you're into? And you realize how many friends that you have, that it doesn't matter if it's been 3 years or 3 days, you pick up right where you left off.
Yeah. It sounds to me like you would have made profit except for the $8,000 barbecue you threw.
You know, I'm not gonna lie. We did put a lot of money. We made brisket. My husband stayed home, so we went to Phoenix Comic-Con, my booth babe and me, because you always have to have a booth babe. Like, if you don't run Comic-Con without a booth babe, you're missing out. And so my husband stayed home on Friday, and he made brisket and ribs and chicken, and we had stayed home on Thursday and like pre-baked a bunch of stuff. We made the popcorn. We bought cheesecake from Costco because it's just so much easier. But
Rice Krispie
we made
treats,
homemade
macaroons.
Yeah, macaroons. We made French macaroons from scratch, and I mean, we had tons of food. I'm a big
peanut butter cookies.
Yes,
That was the one requested item. I won't
we
lie,
had like 6
randomly.
people request for peanut butter cookies.
I'm not kidding. I want to go to Phoenix Comic-Con now because of your barbecue. Not the show.
Yes, it is so much fun.
Plus, you get to see me dancing around in a princess costume.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
what's better than that?
So because it's hot,
Don't mind.
the skirt, you just sit there and sway so you can create your own
You create your own
breeze
breeze.
in your skirt. So we just sit there all day just dancing.
Yep. We set the circus rig up in the backyard. We had a mini pool. We had, you know, we bought an industrial size ice shaver to make shaved ice with.
Yes, true story.
We went all out. You know, I'm all about getting the community together, and this was like my one time a year that I love it. Like, and food is my love language. So not only can I help indie creators, but I can make people get connections together. I can feed people and make them happy. Like, I look forward to it every year.
And baking is like so relaxing.
Mm-hmm. In its own, if you like baking. If you don't like baking, that's a whole nother story.
As two people who like baking, it's like Zen moments.
You literally just said to me, you know what's relaxing? Taking bamboo and shoving it under your fingers. Baking is the least relaxing thing in the world. You have to follow instructions to the T, and I don't know. But my wife is with
you.
Oh,
Never made bread where you just sit there and just like, I'm mad. I'm going to beat the bread until it's good.
Macaroons. You literally have to smack the cookies. You pipe all the cookies on a cookie pan, and then you slam them on the counter about 6 times, and then let them alone.
I'm saying that with bread though, because you got to punch the air out of the bread. It's relaxing.
Okay, if you give me one thing to do, I can do it.
content.
It's the 9 things in a row and the timing, and no, I can't do it.
Oh yeah.
Give me a hot grill. Let me put meat on it and guess how long. I'm in my element.
I just need 7 dwarves to do the dishes for me. Like, I can bake all day long. I can smoke meat all day long.
You're talking about the wrong princess. You weren't the
Oh
one with
yeah,
the
that's just
dwarves.
true. You were the one with the dwarves. I was the one with the magical kingdom that had all of the talking, you know, animated household items.
Yes.
So my sink should have
need
done
a
all the work
teapot.
for me.
If I come to your barbecue, I will do the dishes. Just let me listen to my podcast. I will do the dishes. So, no, that is awesome. It's really great to meet everybody here. It's about 12:20 here. So I think everybody should do one, in case somebody came in late, one last pitch on the comics. And then Will and I are going to go through and talk about some of the books that creators were on in the last couple of weeks that are still funding. We're going to do the same thing for you guys as long as you are still alive, which means, Frankie, we're not going to say a damn thing about you.
We'll raise a glass to you next week, man. Okay?
Yes. And I'm not sure on rabbits. What do you have? 6 days? Will you be live next week? Or
We got 12 days, I think. Yeah.
so
12.
we're gonna. All right, we'll talk about Rabbit Inn now.
Awesome.
If you hang with us, you will see that this might not be the greatest thing because it's an hour in, it's late, I had a couple drinks, so we have no promises about how great we do.
Ice slushies, so
I already finished mine.
Nice. But yeah, let's do Frankie. Let's do one last pitch on the Amber Door because you've got 3 days left. Monday you close. So.
Yes, it's almost over. So the Amber Door is a mini fantasy anthology that focuses on mood and tone. So the concept basically is like the Amber Door opens and it shows you a moment in time. And you get to be there for that brief moment and then the door will shut and then no more. And so that's the idea. Every short is sort of like you walked into somebody's life and something's going on. And it basically, this first volume, there's no real themes to it outside of its fantasy. I want to do kind of everything. I want to do romance, horror, high fantasy, low fantasy, stuff like that. But for this first one, the theme seemed to have inadvertently been sword ladies. Every lead is like a lady with a sword. I didn't mean to do that, but I guess that's where my brain's at.
Well, in fairness to you, you didn't write Fellhounds with a sword lady. She drew you a sword lady. I know her.
Yeah.
To a morning star for that
one. You made her stretch, huh? All right, great. Awesome. Well, I can't wait to read it. We've got 12 days left on Rabbit's Badass Song. Chris, so how would you talk about it one more time?
Southern revenge story with violence, fried chicken.
You guys keep talking about food. Come on, guys.
Well,
give a fat guy a break. Come on, man.
A couple other things. Also, like for everybody everybody gets something extra in this. Even the PDF. If you just download that, you're gonna get an extra PDF goodie. All physical backers, they're eligible for. They're gonna get put into a random drawing. We do it twice a week, Tuesdays and Fridays, and we pull a name. You get so far we've given away like misprints of the books, all kinds of stuff.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, the big thing is once we hit the goal, we're gonna do one big giveaway at the end of it, and we're gonna put all the names back in, and we're gonna draw for a custom Rabbit Funko Pop.
Nice. That's so cool.
Yeah. The only one that
I want to wrap a Funko Wolf and I. That would be
phenomenal.
That is such a cool idea.
Yeah, and you had
the only one I made. So
you had action figures too, didn't you? I thought
there's
on the
page.
page.
We sold I did one black and white set that got sold. Somebody bought that fast, and we sold 2 of the sets. I think there's 3 left.
Nice.
Cool. That's really neat.
That is.
Will did little Lego guys of his crossover divisions, Hank and Hector. So I've got them on my bookcase in my bedroom.
Oh, that's epic. I've never done action figures, but I did do whiskey glasses, and so that was kind of
that's cool.
We adults a lot.
So, action figures and Lego figures must have been so cool. That's such a neat idea.
I did.
I highly recommend doing them.
I did big Pilsner glasses, beer glasses.
Oh, yeah.
I would say that it was the greatest friends and family marketing thing I've ever done. Financially, the worst decision I've ever made.
I will agree. And I handmade all of our etched whiskey glasses, and it was just
t-shirts.
Yeah, and the t-shirts. And I was like, why did I do this? But I was like, but I love it. But I love them. But I hate this.
Wait, you bought a new house? Here's 2 tart glasses. And they love it. But have I sold 12 of the 144? Maybe 12. So The Wolf and I, let's go back through it in case
Yeah,
somebody
let
just
me give
came
you
in.
my blockbuster piss.
Let's
Hopefully
do
you're
it.
ready for this. So if it was a spring blockbuster, this would be my movie blockbuster.
In the voice.
In the I got the voice. In a land slowly overtaken by darkness, eyes peer into every nightmare. Tread carefully, take heed and beware, for creatures crawl throughout the night. Secrets of history shall come to light. Internal powers before unknown. Choices are made, worlds are shown. Two heroines are faced with a choice to band with friends and unite their voice. Against this evil they must stand, for the fate of Crayweth lays in their hands.
Nice.
Bravo.
Very nice. That is awesome. All right.
I was on a pitch show one time. This is my fourth issue of my comic book, so it'll be my fourth Kickstarter, which were 89% funded, which I'm like over the moon about. I'm like, I can't stop. My face is going to be in a permanent grin for the fact that we'll fund our fourth Kickstarter. And I think it was issue three. Yeah, I was on a new show which I'd never been on before, and they were like, "All right, pitch your comic as a Kickstarter." And I was like, I've got 10 seconds. All right. And it just kind of flowed out of me. So I went back and I rewatched this video probably 100 times. And I'm like writing down what I said, because it was like in the moment, just like word vomit on the page. And I was like, that actually came out pretty good. And it was
in rhyme like that?
For the most part, it rhymed. I mean, I'm a pediatric nurse practitioner. I speak in Dr. Seuss half the time.
Okay.
You have to deal with
or Blue's Clues, or so half the time what I write and read is in limericks, and so it just kind of like blah came out.
Salicylic acid is what we will use.
Yeah, I made a few little tweaks, but like ever since I'm like, this has got to be like the permanent pitch for Wolf and I, because we're planning on having about 10 to 20 issues ultimately, and I was like, this is it. Like this is Wolf and I.
Will and I found the theme. We never put any of the shows together with any thought.
Yeah.
At all. It's just, hey, you've got a campaign. What's the best Friday for you? And you guys tell us this Friday, next Friday, whatever it is. So there's never really any, because that would take like organization and forethought, which Will and I don't have.
Who has time? This is true. Sometimes like the best, like in the moment, like you're put on the spotlight and you're like, all right, tell me like 20 seconds about your campaign. You're like, okay.
But we usually find some theme between the books, like everybody's doing Cthulhu, or you guys are all doing these very long-term stories, and so are Will and I. So, this is people that are, because Frankie says, hey, if I can do one of these a year forever, great.
That's pretty long term, forever, right?
Yeah. I can't die. I have more Amber Door to write.
Exactly.
But that's great. I love that everybody has these long range plans and are, slowly and surely putting them out, whether the first or the fourth. That is fabulous, and it's really cool. Thank you guys so much for coming. Will and I are going to talk about you don't have to leave, but you also don't have to stay. Will and I are going to talk about the other campaigns.
You're like, I'm ready to go to bed, but I mean, if you want to still stay at my house, like these are the social spots that are open.
Don't be surprised if my camera goes off and I just vanish.
And that is fair. That is fair. In 4 days, we have the very not young adult comic, Usual Haunts, Not Safe for Work, about a vampire who realizes that she kind of didn't get jiggy with it as a human, and she is going to use eternity to find that part of her reality. And when I said to her, it's just adorably dirty. It is very dirty, but it's also adorable and fun slice of life comic, but certainly 17 plus. And we also have, we talked about it earlier, Pregnant Bitches of War. This one's for the kids. It's the Gonzo, yes,
at heart.
the Gonzo comedy from our buddy Clay Adams. And it is basically, I think, 6 pregnant women are accidentally thrown back in time where they kill Hitler and find out that maybe Hitler wasn't even the worst thing that could have happened to the world because they let loose an entirely other time stream that is also sucky, and just it's Gonzo comedy. If you can be offended, you will be offended, and if you can't be offended, you might be surprised. And you're going to have a lot of fun with it. But definitely, it's Gonzo. We didn't have Russell Nolte on this time, but he does have a novel series of his Godverse Chronicles. There's 4 new novels. So if you haven't heard about Russell's book, it's out there. Robert Krish's The Turner Family Terrors are kind of the Simpsons meet Hellboy, he says. Just a comedy about a family that they investigate stuff, right, Will?
Monster Hunters.
A family of monster hunters within that Simpsons Hellboy type realm.
And then we had a first for us last week. We had a video from Farhan, who is in London and not even close to syncing up with our time zones. So we played a video of his, which was really kind of cool. But his Battle Panda #1, Big Trouble in Panda City, is I think it has about 10 days left. Actually, let me check on that real quick.
Looking like 8 days, and they're at 79%. So they're definitely right there in that perfectly good funding, Kickstarter math kicking in. It's about a panda who always wanted to grow up to be a fighter. And unfortunately, the wolves around his town start stealing their water. And he finds out whether or not he actually is a fighter because he has to do it. Really adorable artwork. Really cool stuff.
And then there's some slacker writer I know that's got a campaign running too right now, which I love because it's time traveling demon hunters, and Ludovic Saleh is an awesome artist, and that Kevin guy is a pretty good writer too. So
he's a jerk, but my
it.
problem is I always know how his stories are going to end. He has not surprised me once.
That's so sad, man. He surprised me a few times.
So we are collecting a hardcover. We didn't go into it much because I got to go into it last week, and Will and I love to do this, and we want you to enjoy doing it, so we don't want to take away your time. But we're doing a hardcover of the second arc, 4 through 7 of our Submerged arc, where they go to Truck Lagoon, which is a real haunted waterway, and it was a Japanese and American battle in World War II. And there are scuba divers here phantom drumming. They don't know where it's coming from, and they see these ghost lights. They don't know what it is. And we got to do some crazy make-em-ups on how our time-traveling demon hunters actually interacted with the world's most haunted waterway. So it's fun.
That sounds awesome.
Nice.
Thank you. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us. It was a pleasure we've met Frankie before, but it's a pleasure to meet the 4 of you who joined us, and we really appreciate it. And we can't wait to see you guys fund and hit stretch goals and beyond. I'm gonna win a Funko Pop. I don't know about anybody else.
And I think
I kind of want to win the Funko Pop too for my bookshelf.
I think it speaks to Frankie's bad taste that he actually came back on the show. So,
I call it eclectic taste.
Yeah.
All right. Good night, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thanks again, everyone.
Good night. Bye-bye.
Thank you to everybody.